a todos. Welcome to another interview for the Best in Heritage. My name is Gabriela da Rocha. I'm a museologist, and I'm specializing in the application of digital technologies such as 3D printing and 3D scanning for the documentation and dissemination of cultural heritage. And today I'm super excited to have here Dave Petten and Lauren Ding from the Science Museum Group. Thank you so much for taking the time to share more about your insights and also more about WonderLab Plus and WonderLab AR projects at Science Museum Group. And also congratulations for winning the 2023 Webby Award. That's amazing. So Dave and Laurie, could you briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Lauren. I am the digital editor for learning at the Science Museum Group. So I look after all the kind of educational and family content that is released in the group.
And I'm Dave Petten. I'm head of new media at Science Museum Group. So I manage the team that's responsible for all of the digital things that happen on the floors of our museum. So all of the interactives and the video production and audio work, as well as looking after the museum's portfolio of mobile apps.
I would love to hear more about the Science Museum Group, also the institution involved. So could you provide us a quick overview of this group and the institutions involved?
Certainly. So Science Museum Group comprises of the Science Museum in London, the National Railway Museum in York, the National Science and Media Museum in Bradford, the Science and Industry Museum in Manchester, Locomotion in Shildon, and then the Innovation and Discovery Park in Wroughton, which is just outside Swindon, which is where the main museum storage facilities are.
So we have two winners projects, WonderLab Plus and WonderLab AR, right? And we can see two engages approach to explore science by using digital technologies and also the engaging of the visitors. And I would love to hear the backstory of both projects. What sparked the ideas behind it? Also about the name, who chose the name, why the name, the meaning, and what kind of technology was used for both of them?
Yeah, so I can start with the WonderLab Plus stuff. So in terms of the name, I think you might know about WonderLab as a title for the actual exhibition space, but essentially in three of our museums, we have interactive exhibitions that are called WonderLab that you can go and there are shows, you can get hands-on with all of the exhibits, and it's just a really fun space. And then I think for us, one of the things that we recognised was that, you know, while we have these three physical spaces, not everyone can actually get there. So we were trying to think about how we could bring that experience online to reach more people who wouldn't necessarily be able to make the journey to us in person. So that's where the idea of WonderLab Plus came from. But yeah, I don't know if you want to say.
No, I think that's good. Yeah. I mean, WonderLab AR is slightly different and quite unusual for us as well, in that WonderLab AR came about because we were approached by an agency that we work with quite often on digital games and activities, who were doing some work with Niantic, and Niantic were looking for 10 institutions across the world to fund to build experimental apps based on the Lightwave platform, which is the platform that Niantic used to develop Pokemon Go. So we wrote a very short proposal which took the kind of ethos of the WonderLab experience, but took it out into the real world, into like people's everyday environment. And Niantic really liked it and funded us to develop an app around that idea.
That's amazing journey. Congratulations. And last year, both projects were distinguished by the Web Award, right? WonderLab Plus for the best science website, and WonderLab AR for the best education and reference apps, DEPs, and software 2023, right? So what do you think were the particular qualities and innovations that impressed the Web Award jury?
I mean, I think for both projects, it was probably the playfulness of the experience and the fact they're very audience appropriate. They're designed for young people particularly, but they're designed to be playful and really to deliver learning by stealth. So they're not overtly educational, but they are delivering learning in a fun way. And I think we as an institution believe that all learning should be fun. And it's, you don't really engage people unless you have that kind of fun and playfulness.
Yeah, and just to kind of add to that, I mean, we have our kind of company ethos, which is, open for all. So we just want to make sure that, everything that we do is accessible to absolutely everybody, to all audiences. And especially we do a lot of work for what we call kind of low science capital. So try and, encourage people who might not think that science or maths is for them, to actually make it really easy for them to be inspired and engaged. And part of that was to make everything so playful. Some of the content on Wonderlab Plus has been around for a long time, but it tended to be more focused towards teachers to do in class. So one of the big challenges for us was how do we create something that could actually be done at home with your parents who might not necessarily be scientifically minded but would just want to get stuck in. So yeah, I think hopefully that's something they saw in the projects.
And that was certainly a driver for Wonderlab AR, that we wanted something where our world is full of science and technology, and we wanted people just to see that and to realize that every day, in everything you do, you're encountering science and technology, and it's nothing to be afraid of. It's the thing that kind of powers our modern life. It's all around you. You interact with it without thinking about it. And you should celebrate that fact and should be comfortable around science. So it really is revealing the everyday science that just populates your world and making that familiar and normal to people.
Yeah. And just kind of pointing out that things that you do without thinking are actually scientific, even if you don't consider yourself a scientist. You might be like, oh, well, I don't get on at science in school. But if you boil an egg, you're basically doing science. So that's kind of the sort of ethos that we had.
Yeah, it's very good to hear that you create an inclusive approach also. And I would love to hear about some of the challenges, because I'm sure that you have a lot of challenges, not just in the tech part, but also in the approach, as you said, about accessibility. I'd love to hear more about some of the challenges you and your team faced during the project, and how do you overcome them? And also, it would be great if you could share some of the positive experience you both had along the way with those challenges, and especially in terms of providing an inclusive experience through accessibility strategies. I'm sure Lauren has plenty to say about that. Also, I would like to hear about how these things, special things that overcome with the project.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously a big challenge when you have such a lofty goal, and you wanted to cast such a wide net of people to be interested in your product. I guess the challenge was, how do we make sure that everyone does feel included and that all of these different audiences do feel included? So our way of making sure of that was to do quite a lot of user testing with people who would be using the website at the end of the day. So we worked really closely with families with from all different backgrounds, just to kind of through every stage of the process, actually, from the first kind of build, prototype, right through to the final build. And so we chose a really diverse array of audiences and families to just make sure that we got their feedback, we got their input. So everything on the site, everything that we've done is based on feedback from those users. So we know that we could be confident that actually as many people as possible felt as comfortable as possible browsing the site, if that makes sense. But yeah, that was, and it was, it was a challenge to try and find families who had the time. It was, we started the build kind of still during lockdown. So a lot of these things were done over Zoom and Teams. So a lot of this, testing was done remotely. We did a few bits on site in some of our museums. But yeah, that did provide like an added challenge. But I think we were all the better for it. And it was, a really positive experience at the end of the day to actually see young people really engaging with the site. And their feedback was just so useful and invaluable. And yeah, it made the site what it is, essentially.
Yeah. I think we're really lucky as an organisation. We have probably one of the best audience research departments of any museum in the world. And we work really closely with that group to facilitate the testing and to ensure that we're not testing our own work. It's being tested by a different group.
Yeah.
And they've have a lot of experience in kind of getting the right people in to do the testing and feeding back valuable insights that we can then turn into actions to make the apps and the websites better. The things that we do really wouldn't be as good without the audience research group.
Yeah.
I think in terms of the challenges, I mean, the app had some slightly different challenges. So one was we had a very short timescale to deliver the app. It was done start to finish in, I think it was maybe 4 months. So working with an agency that we've worked with before, Preloaded, who specialise in kind of purposeful games, we were able to both adapt our ways of working to deliver that product in a very short time scale. So we were delivering it on a very kind of agile project methodology. In terms of access, I think there are kind of bigger questions around access for mobile devices. I think certainly the Apple platform has some quite good accessibility features built into the phone, and we made sure that the app played well with all of those. But I guess the bigger question for access is probably whether people have those mobile phones or not, and that's a big challenge for reaching all audiences. There is a cost to owning technology that precludes some people from being able to engage with that.
I mean, that was something, that was something we considered as well when building Wonderlab Plus. And I think that it was slightly easier, I guess, for us because knowing that it would be on the web, you wouldn't necessarily have to have it. You could, get it on your smartphone or tablet, but you can also access it from, a library computer or a computer in school. So we worked quite hard to make sure that it worked on sort of older machines, on older browsers as well, so that, people didn't need the latest technology to be able to use it.
And I guess, to the final thing about that, we do think about the Wonderlab is a suite of things that work kind of together. So there are different ways of accessing from like the physical spaces in different geographical locations in the UK through to the stuff online, through to the apps, but they're all using this kind of same underlying ethos that Wonderlab is based on, which is kind of experimentation and testing and learning and play. They're just doing it in slightly different ways. So there are various ways that you can kind of access Wonderlab in its broadest sense.
Yeah. Which is, what we were trying to kind of cast a wide net. We were trying to just make sure that anywhere that people might be able to access us, that we would be there, essentially.
Amazing. And it's beautiful to see that the Science Museum Group and other science museums are embracing concepts such as playful experience, gamification. It's always nice to see and hear this kind of initiatives. But when considering technologies and approach, what factors should museums pay attention to when creating apps and also websites to engage the visitors?
I'd take a step back from that. I mean, it's ultimately we're about stories. we tell stories, and we tell stories about our collections and about scientific principles. And ultimately, we're always looking for the best way to tell those stories. So technology is one way of telling stories, and it's really good at telling some stories, and it's less useful, or it's an expensive way of telling other stories. So we're always kind of starting from what's the story or the message, and who's the audience, who are we trying to tell that story to, and then what are the palette of things that we can engage. And that's everything from, if you're physically in the museum, an object, a text panel, a piece of graphic, a film, an interactive, a workshop. We've got lots of different ways that we can do that, and it's finding the most appropriate way for the particular audience that you're trying to communicate with to get that across. And I would say, technology, when you're using technology, it's got to be absolutely the right tool to do that, because it is quite expensive, and it's not just in terms of building it, but also the maintenance of it. Particularly if you're dealing with mobile apps, the mobile phone manufacturers change their operating system at least once a year. So you have to get into those apps at least once a year and make sure they're still compliant with the latest things that the Apple and Google have decided are going to happen in the operating systems. And that's everything from the screen resolutions change to the underlying toolkits that the software is based on change. So you need to regularly go in and update those apps. And it's kind of the same with websites, that you're kind of reliant on underlying content management systems and web delivery systems. So you need to have people and money in place to be able to maintain those over a period of time.
Yeah, I mean, a website lives and dies by its content and how often it gets updated. Our worst case scenario was that, we built this beautiful website that was really playful and tactile, and then there would be no new content on it. It would just be static. So thankfully, that's not the case.
But there are great cases in point for that. So, museums in the, I guess, early 2000s started to build stuff with Adobe Flash. So built lots of exhibits and lots of kind of interactive websites with Adobe Flash. That was fine until Adobe withdrew support for Flash, and suddenly loads of that stuff didn't work anymore. So we had lots of games and very interactive bits of our website that we then had to completely re-engineer if we wanted to keep them running. So technology also has a kind of life cycle that you need to be aware of, that just because you've made it doesn't mean it's going to run forever. So you need to think about what's going to happen if a manufacturer stops supporting the underlying system that you're running something in.
Yeah, I guess it's about being adaptable as well, because it's not just technologically, but sometimes, I mean, there's definitely been things since I've joined the museum, older resources we've kind of sort of taken down because they've become out of date. The science itself has become out of date. So it's just being able to kind of move with the times and just make sure that there is somebody there who can make sure that everything we're putting out is, accurate, and that, accurate and accessible and up to date.
That's amazing. Thank you. It's always good to hear considerations about the tech issues also when you're working with this kind of apps and websites. And I have one more question. What are the upcoming plans for Wonderlab Plus, Wonderlab AR? You already, and also the upcoming plans for the Science Museum Group initiatives?
I think they are many and varied. So, with Wonderlab, there are certainly plans afoot to build another Wonderlab in Manchester. So that will probably happen over the next sort of, I guess, 3 or 4 years. With the app, we have to refresh the way the app is built at least once a year, because it's basically run from real geographic data around where the kind of buildings and the scientific things that the app lets you explore are in the UK, and this is everything from traffic lights to cycle hire stations to electric car charging points to power stations and train stations. And as you can imagine, lots of those things move. They're not there forever. Yes. So we have to rerun the geographical data and crunch that back into the app to make sure that when you're navigating and it says you're near something, you really are still near it and the traffic lights haven't disappeared and actually you're looking for something that you can't find. So keeping that up to date, we have looked at whether we can make that global. At the moment, it only runs in the UK because the data is very, very specific, and basically there isn't a kind of data layer across the world that collects all that into one place. So it's quite difficult to build kind of versions of it for other countries, or it's labor intensive and therefore cost intensive to do that. But I think we share quite freely the kind of thinking that went on behind that, and our experiences of using the Lightwave platform, which was really, really good. I think I guess it would be interesting to look at things like that and look at what they might be like if you were to put them into a mixed reality headset. So you're not experiencing it on your phone, you're kind of overlaying the real world. But at the moment, those mixed reality systems are still super expensive, and there aren't a lot of them out in the market. So that's probably something that's a few years off. But we're constantly evaluating emergent technologies and looking at what we might want to use in the museum. And also we have a big exhibition and galleries program across all of our sites that goes, we know what we're doing with a high degree of certainty for the next 5 years, and with a pretty good degree of certainty for the next 10 years. So we've got lots of exhibitions planned, some more hands-on galleries, particularly a hands-on gallery for younger children, so children under 7, which will be based very much on play. So watch this space.
And as for Wonderlab Plus, thanks to generous support from our funder, Urenco, we've got an ongoing pipeline of new content planned. So keep an eye on the website for new stuff.
Great. So thank you for sharing your insights. It was a great conversation. And Lauren and Dave, I really enjoy seeing the passion you both put on Wonderlab Plus and Wonderlab AR. But Lauren, give me an idea. Before we finish our interview, would you like to share anything else or leave a message for our viewers?
Oh, okay. I don't know. I guess that put me on the spot. No, well, just thank you for watching. Thank you for visiting Wonderlab, whether it's in person or online. Any kind of feedback that you have would be very appreciated. So please do get in touch if you want to chat about this stuff. And just I think that's it. That's it as well.